Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. I hope you had a great day. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. I hope you enjoy them. The first story is called Revenge on Awful Bosses. I am an accountant. My old job, which I left just a few months ago, was awful. Not because of the work or clients, but because of the owners. It was a small company, about 10 total employees and the 2 partners. One of the owners was the type of person that would call and scream at her husband in full view of all of her staffers for the smallest stuff. Things like that the dog was late being dropped off to its daycare or her favorite shirt wasn't dry clean. She would give people a written warning and a red mark on their employment for a spelling mistake in an email. Just petty as heck. The other owner was a cheapskate. Refused to give raises unless you threatened to quit. Once she told me that she wouldn't give me a raise because she didn't make that much when she was at the same point in her career, 30 years ago, as if inflation wasn't a thing. She would make us pay for our own meals at mandatory staff lunches. So after 4 years of that BS, I found another job and quit without notice. I took with me copies of some Excel and Word templates and such that I had made during my time there. A week later, I was served with a lawsuit for breach of contract, citing I had taken proprietary information from the server that has caused irreparable damage to their business. They wanted me to return all copies of the documents that were created during my employment there. So I took that to heart. I first made the legal team agree that they would diarize all of the documents I provided, so that there could be no coming back and saying I missed something. As well as a few more concessions, which I added one at a time, before I would sign the agreement. What they thought was going to be a USB was 2 banker's boxes of printouts and handwritten notes. See, since I had been working from home for 5 months and I'm a big note taker and print off a lot of stuff for review, I had stacks of the stuff I was going to burn at some point. I took all of it into the lawyers personally and sat there while they scanned and listed every piece of paper I brought in. It took 2 paralegals 4 hours. All in all, I figured their petty lawsuit cost them about $10,000 and gave me a pretty good laugh. The next story is called Stick to the Hours. Our site is huge. At any one time, several hundred things could be happening at once. Biological studies, chemical experimentation, clinical studies on humans, and a whole lot of paperwork. The tacit understanding is that you work until the job is finished, not 9 to 5. It sometimes means you will work 12-hour days more than once a week to finish things that are ongoing and then write up reports. As such, on site we have a resource center where you can get anything from a ballpoint pen up to, and not limited to, potentially hazardous chemicals. The new resource manager, Jack, has decided to change proceedings from how it was run by his predecessor. Opening times are 9 to 10 am and 1 to 2 pm. Plus, every 20th of the month it closed all day so he can do inventory. This makes sense in a way. It will help against loss prevention and people will hopefully consider and plan their trips to the resource center with more care. However, Jack is extremely strict about his opening times. To the point of turning people out of the resource center when the clock hits dead on the closing time. Came to a head 2 weeks ago when some people had reports to print and courier to their clients. We sent both digital and hard, and we keep both digital and hard copies. So we use up a lot of paper. We are trying to cut it down, but it's still what we do. Somebody realized that all of the printers on our level were all out of paper, so they went down to the center to get some boxes of copy paper. Except it was the 20th and Jack wasn't opening the door for anything or anybody. They got their immediate supervisor to try. No dice. He then came to me. Also no dice. I then went to the site head, who huffily condescended to get Jack to open the door. We were polite about it and got our paper. Reports got printed, clients stayed informed, departments remained properly updated. The supervisor and I get called in and told that on no uncertain terms must this happen again. We are all on contracts that state our working hours and Jack is no different. We should respect that he works strictly to the clock, and if we can't manage our time properly, we should learn from Jack. An email was sent to everyone on site with a terse warning that this would not be allowed. along with a directive to go look at some articles on time management. The entire site took this very seriously to heart. We would definitely start working properly to our contract hours and manage our time with due care. 5 o'clock comes and an experiment that has been going for 4 hours isn't finished? Dump it in the tank and we start it tomorrow. Something due to be ready at 8:30 am that needed to be monitored immediately afterward because the result will be tainted? Nobody is going to come in at 8 am to monitor the final stages. Meeting during lunch break? Our cell phones are all turned off. Sorry, we didn't get the message. Reports not done? Clients don't get them until the report can be completed in contracted hours. Of course, the complaints from departments and clients came flooding in, along with complaints from other sites who were waiting on us for critical data. Money was lost. When asked, the staff tells management that we have been told to manage our time more carefully and be more like Jack. And that we should work strictly to the set hours per our contract. About another 20 minutes pass and an email goes out. If you need materials, resources, etc. and Jack is not in the center, here's his cell. Call him and he will come to help you. I hope you enjoyed today's video so far. If you like the video, don't forget to press the like button. It really helps the channel to grow. And now, on to the next story. The third story is called It's Your Job to Sell It. This happened about a decade ago at a well-known insurance company. I was working as an agent, doing what all salespeople do to get by without losing their dignity and soul. Find a way to frame the sales pitch in a way that yields maximum results for the managers while making sure that your customers are well taken care of. Easy to balance the two, right? Anyways, one day with much pomp and circumstance, the insurance company rolled out a new rating system. This was supposed to improve the accuracy and thus the profitability of the company. Wanting to see the bells and whistles, I went into the new system and started running some dummy quotes to see what the new prices looked like. It looked like a disaster for sales, as the prices on average went up. As I was playing around, I found something interesting. If I moved the different options on and off in a specific pattern, I could offer the maximum coverage possible at a cost that was less than what the minimum coverage would cost to the same customer. Something was wrong with the new rating system, so as any responsible employee would do, I went up to my manager. Hey boss man, I think something's up with the new system. OP, I just don't want to hear about it anymore. It's your job to sell, not complain about the new system. But when I offer the highest coverage? Yes, and it's your job to sell the highest coverage at every chance possible, no matter how expensive it is. Sir, yes sir. Needless to say, I broke a few sales records in the next couple of months. Until we had an emergency all-hands meeting with the instructions to manually review all new max coverage policies until they fix a bug they had found that spits out insanely low prices if you followed a certain pattern. Apparently, the company had lost a bit of money. Oh well, on to the next loophole. The next story is called Make Him Clean It. Up until about 4 years ago, I worked for a large supermarket here in the UK, night shift replenishment. We filled and rotated the shelves at night so they could just be topped up in the day. I'm going to start off by saying that cleaning standards in my store were subpar. Anyway, we all had our own designated aisles to fill. I was usually on a produce aisle, fruits and vegetables, but as times called for it, I could be taken to other areas of the store that were struggling. Now, every department has its own manager, and every manager is different. Our produce manager was on the ball. The department was clean and tidy at all times, paperwork always done, there was always backup for holidays, a tight ship. The dairy manager on the other hand couldn't organize anything. One of the things he was very slack on was cleaning. On the surface, he would have the shelves cleaned, but behind the stock was a different story. The shelves are slanted, so you can only see the back of the chiller if you get down and then look directly up behind an area with no stock, so pretty much 100% hidden. So one night, dairy is struggling again, due to the fact that the area is run by a chimp that the company shaved and threw a uniform on. I get sent over as produce is ahead of schedule, yogurt aisle specifically. It's not difficult work, but as I'm filling those shelves, I get a nice view of all the mold on the back of the chillers. The chillers blow cold air from the back, so as I'm reaching my arms in, I'm short with short arms, I get a nice face full of moldy smelling air, the whole damn night, and again the next night. Night 3, I'm sick as a dog, can't stop vomiting, amongst other things. This goes on for 3 more nights into my weekend. I get back and I have to have my meeting with the night manager and dairy manager. Mine was on holiday. They are not happy with my absence. This was my second period in the year. Now I had been at the store for 5 years and these 2 absences were the only sickness I had off. I'm a bit defensive and I point out the fact that I'd basically been working in a biohazard area for 2 days. I told them about the mold blowing in my face for 2 nights, which I also pointed out to the dairy manager on day 1 and was dismissed. Not good enough. Apparently I'm only going off sick because I know the usual yogurts guy is always going sick and I'm trying to take advantage. They never did connect those dots. After all this, the outcome was a written warning. They have to send you out the room before giving you the warning to discuss, as per procedure. Thin walls, so I could hear them. He could appeal based on the moldy chillers. He has evidence. Just get him on the clean you go policy. And that's what they did. They said if the chillers were dirty, it's my responsibility as the policy is technically clean as you go. If you see a mess, you clean it. I said that's madness, there's like 7 years of build up there, the whole aisle has it. Didn't matter, that's the policy. Fine, so be it then. Anyway, that night I'm back on yogurts. The usual guy is actually back in, but I guess this was now some sort of weird extra punishment. But at least now I'm fully aware of that clean as you go policy. Another thing I haven't mentioned is not just how useless the dairy manager is, but how lazy he is. This also applies to the night manager. The night shift, to be honest, doesn't require much running. Everyone has their aisles and they know their job. The dairy manager, night manager and grocery manager would spend the night chilling outside, barely popping in to check on things. The produce manager was usually left to handle any issues as he was actually respectably professional, but he's on holiday this night. Yogurts is at the back of the store, the manager shelter at the front. I know I'm alone all night long and I have a lot to clean. First things first, I have to get to the back of the chillers, all the stock is in the way, better take it off. So all the stock piled onto cages and run into the chiller, 9 cages total. Only took me a couple of hours as it's 10 times quicker to take off as it is to put out. The shelves are still in the way, better take them down. To be honest, the back edge on them all needs cleaning too. So all the shelves, unhinged and dismantled, they just lift off and pull out. I get them all on a couple of cages and run them into the warehouse so I can spray them down in the cleaning area. This took longer than expected, as some of that black mold was incredibly stubborn. Better leave them here to dry. Back to the aisle, can finally start on the backs of these chillers, again just like the shelves, super hard to get off. It took me the rest of the night to get one side cleaned. The other though, terribly filthy. So that's my night ended, nothing on the shelves, actually not even any shelves. And the managers had no idea. A few people asked me what I was doing that night. I just told them, night manager says I have to clean this. Nobody informed them. Morning comes, 6 AM. The store manager comes in. He likes to walk the aisles first thing with the night managers. I'm just doing my shopping at this point, next to the yogurts, then he arrives. I'd never heard him swear before. What the F? The night managers didn't have anything to say. They are supposed to run this place through the night, and they didn't know a whole aisle had basically gone missing. He tore into them right there. Eventually, one of them mentions they had seen me shopping. The store manager demanded someone grabs me. He wants an explanation as to why one of his biggest selling aisles had vanished into oblivion. Around the corner. What in the heck have you done? I was told I had to clean this. Who told you to do this? The night manager and dairy manager. They interjected. We did not. I have the notes from my attendance review, signed by both of you, stating that I need to clean as I go. Well, this isn't cleaning as you go. Dismantling the aisle was the only way I had to get to the mold. That's when the store manager took a closer look at the back of those chillers. Not just a dark discoloration like he had assumed with his bad eyesight. Moldy. He went off again and put them both into the warehouse for round 2. Cleaning the chillers is the night manager's responsibility, and this was inexcusable. I went back to shopping. I came in the next night to hear the fallout. They were both written up. The store manager made them stay and clean the other chiller wall, then put all the shelves back up, then put all the stock back out, plus the delivery that was also unworked from the night. All in all, 7 hours past shift end. And they still had to come in that night. I never saw any retaliation. I heard that was specifically from the store manager, not because he's a good guy, but because it wasn't worth it from a legal and career perspective. I had followed instructions and there are some pretty rigid labor laws and protections here, not to mention a strong union. They didn't want the head office to get wind of how filthy they had allowed the food chiller to get, opening up the company to all manners of fines. The last story is called Grandma Rule. This happened about 6 years ago when I worked at my local pub. Now, for context, the landlord operated on our grandma's rules in the pub. Meaning anything you said or done that would offend my grandma or yours, then you're out. You don't offend grandma. Simple. I used to supervise the bar while my landlord dealt with the office staff to help balance the workload. It was a great job overall. Decent wage, was right on my doorstep, and the regulars were class. Except one. We should call her Karen. Karen was getting married to one of the regulars and was a complete jerk. She was this horrible, morbidly obese woman who would complain about the size of the stools and how it doesn't fit her. What's worse is, she doesn't acknowledge you. She would just huff and puff until she gets a new drink. I hated that, and so did every member of staff. One day I got fed up and ignored her because she snapped at me for saying hello. The situation went as follows. "Well, aren't you going to serve me?" "Why?" Grandma's rules? My grandma would be offended if I sat here with an empty glass for too long." I immediately had a light bulb moment and waited for my moment to strike. I served her as normal and spoke to my landlord about her in the office. I explained what I wanted to do and he gave me the go-ahead. I went back to the bar where she was spitting fire at the new bar girl I was training. I just calmly told the bar girl to ignore her and serve the customers. I then took her drinks, poured them down the sink and asked her to leave. "What are you doing?" "Sorry, grandma's rules. She thinks you're a jerk and wants you to leave." Spoiler, the landlord is actually a landlady and my grandma. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.